Hey, been a while, hasn't it? Yeah. Compared to last time, when I said that I just didn't have the motivation, this time I felt like I wanted to do so many things that this just didn't feel as important. I'll come off straight. I've prepared this time, so I have a list right here opened up, and I'm going to go one by one. And the very first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that I'm going to switch it to weekly updates from now on. At first, I started off trying daily. I tried it for about 2 weeks. I think I may have gotten 3. But the problem was that too many times I felt like I didn't have enough to say. Like the day felt empty. I didn't have any meaningful updates to give you, and I didn't just want to say, oh, I'm still working on that project, or oh, I'm still doing something. So rather than doing it daily because, I don't know, just some arbitrary reason, I just decided to keep it weekly, because in a week, it happens very seldom that you don't get something done, or something important doesn't happen to you. So I think that a weekly edit should do it. That's the first part. If something cool happens on top of that, then I may add another video. But that one a week should do it. I'm thinking about doing it on Friday, maybe on Sunday. So this is a special one, just because I'm finished now. I'm finished moving. So that's the second part, actually. The moving part. As you can see, I am in another room once again. But this time, this is the room I'm staying. Hopefully. At least for another year or two, maybe more. I don't know. I've treated it, and I treated myself to some nice pictures in the background. I have a closet over here where I can record my other stuff, where people seem to really like the audio that the closet produces. And what it does is basically a lot of clothes and an extra blanket behind me. So I don't have a photo of that right now, but you can just imagine I tie a blanket to the top, and I just put it behind me, so it creates like a capsule. And that's about it. That's all the equipment I use. And people named it, like the last client I did work for named it broadcast quality, which was really nice because I didn't think much of it, but it helps to know that other people think it sounds good as well. What else? So the last 10 days have mostly been us moving. Ever since the weekend before, we moved all of our stuff on. Like, I started going with carloads of stuff on Wednesday, then Thursday, and then the entire Saturday we just moved everything else. The closet, the drawers, like all the big furniture and all the other stuff we moved in one day. In one go, basically. Because all the other stuff was moved. And then just the last few things remained. So I went back for that on Sunday. And then we kept cleaning and setting it up. So Sunday I set up the bed, or maybe even Saturday. Then all the other furniture that we put together. Then we had to move all the clothes. Then on Monday I think we were cleaning a lot of it, because there was a lot of stuff to clean, and setting up the PC and setting up my girlfriend's desk and the library and stuff like that. Then on Tuesday I think I messed around with something else. I think it was with the PC. And then one more day where I just cleaned everything. But still, my brother-in-law and the dog were living with us before they moved as well. So they were here for the last week, and it wasn't, so the cleaning wasn't done yet because I needed to wait for the dog to move, because she leaves a lot of it's like a hedgehog. That's how I would best describe her fur. It's just really pointy, and it sticks to the furniture all the time. So I needed to wait until she moves so I could clean everything up afterwards. I don't mind, actually. is the fact that my girlfriend is allergic, so I don't want it sticking around. And her sister, who's coming to visit soon, is highly allergic and asthmatic. So I wanted to make sure that we don't accidentally give someone a seizure or kill somebody or something. You know, the usual. So the moving part was hard, but I really enjoyed it. The weird part was that I still am having trouble accommodating to the new place. What do I mean by that is the first week I felt, me and my girlfriend both, we felt like we were visitors. And that was because the brother-in-law, who owns, along with my sister, they own the flat. He was still here and the dog was still here. So even though they were out, I still felt like I'm not, you know, it's not our flat, at least for living in. And now this is the first full day, I think. Today at 5 a.m. he left. And it's just the two of us. And I'm still getting used to it. I'm still having weird feelings. So I think it'll take a week or two before I can get properly, before I can settle, let's name it. So along with moving, oh yeah, I spent a whole day organizing all my stuff for LARPing and for camping, essentially. That took a long time. And then we spent half a day just cleaning everything. So I think this is the 6th day in a row where we're just cleaning and washing our clothes. And today I did all of my shirts. Yesterday it was all the blankets and the sheets. And we're going one by one because in between the transport and the month where they were just sitting on, you know, somewhere in a warehouse, essentially, they needed to be cleaned, like all of it. So that's now mostly done. I've also spent a good 3 to 4 hours fiddling around with the Ethernet and the router, because that took a long time, but now it's right here on my desk in the room. Like, it was in the living room, and now it's here. And it took me a long time to figure everything out. But it turns out, if you get a router from the developer, they don't give you admin access. So I can't even set up port forwarding. I can't see what it's doing with the firewall. I can just see like the limited stuff that they left for me to see. So that pissed me off a lot, but I managed to somehow figure out how to get it here. And from here I can put it on Ethernet because the Wi-Fi it's acting weird at times. So the cable is always nice, because with the cable I now have about 90 megabits, which is I think 10 or 11 megabytes per second, both down and up. And that's perfect. I'm thinking about streaming, actually. And I just might, I don't know. It's a good practice for my voice, and I like doing it, so I think I'll have a lot to talk about. Once again, unforeseen for now. So that's about it for the moving part. It took us a week, and I really discovered that I have almost a fetish, I would say, for cleaning. I don't know why. I never had this in my previous apartment, but today I just looked back and I realized that I had to clean everything. I spent about 40 minutes cleaning the couch behind me, and as far as I can tell, it doesn't have a single hair left in it from the dog, which it had, you know, a lot of it. I'm going to try and show you a few pictures of the couch. And I'll also show you the pictures from the moving. I hope I'll probably edit them back. So what's next? Well, we went to IKEA. We bought a new conference table, a few things. We arranged everything so it looks nice. Sometimes it looks a bit like an altar. I have to say, we have one place that looks literally as if a sacrifice was supposed to be made there. But, you know, we like it. We like all those little trinkets. So don't judge. So what's next? Yeah, after that week was done, I felt really bad for not making any content. And I look back and I realized I haven't worked for the entire week. Like, I haven't even tried. So what's that about? And I realized that I have to, like, for some reason, I was really trying to tell myself that doing it daily was a good idea. and doing it consistently and focusing on work first and not on the balance, like forcing myself into stuff that doesn't feel natural instinctively, that's not good. So I decided to come clean with myself, essentially, and tell myself that I'm not really going to do it every day, like not every other 2 days. If I want to work, then I should work. But if I don't feel that I can work, like if my mind's not at rest and ready for work because I haven't cleaned up the living room and the couches and all that stuff, like what I consider basic settling in, then I can't do it, and it doesn't make sense, and I should clean it up first. So I took a whole week up until 2 days before, like 2 days ago, to clean most of it. So I feel pretty much, I feel a lot more comfortable now than I did like just a few days ago. And that's because I really made sure, like as we were moving in, I took extra time to decide what goes where. So the ordering was there in place instantly. So I didn't just say, oh, we're gonna put the towels somewhere and then we'll move them. Like I straight up had to plan it. And that's how I figured out that even though I thought about myself as someone who can work flexibly, I really like having a tight plan. And if I have to deviate, I like to know about those possible deviations up front and plan for them as well. So what I figured out is I'm a really good planner, and I can plan really thoroughly and for many small probabilities. But if something is unplanned, like I could have prepared and I didn't prepare for it and it happened, that pisses me off a lot. So for me, as someone who was trying to convince myself that I'm the exact opposite my entire life, I'm gonna have to get used to that and just accept it. Because I thought of people who did that as, like it's strange. But now I'm one of them. So yeah. It's like, it's hard to tell myself that I shouldn't judge others, because I like judging myself. I feel like it pushes me on. So now that I figured out that if I want to stop judging others, I have to stop judging myself. Like, I don't know, it's an uncomfortable feeling to not be able to rely on that self-pressure, I guess. It's liberating. Like, the thought feels nice, but it'll take a lot of practice on my end, because I'm just so used to that feeling of, oh, I have to do it now, otherwise what am I doing with my life? So essentially, like, it feels nice on one hand to know that I was forcing myself the entire time, and I should just trust my instincts more. And if I don't feel like working, I should take an hour walk and do something to, like, reset myself, so to speak. But on the other hand, it feels like, I don't know, it feels strange and unnatural to me at this point. I've gotten so used to it that even though I know it's not right, I just feel more comfortable because it's so, I don't know, so well known, so familiar to me, I guess. So that's another thing. Like, I've heard it a lot lately that mine prefers the familiar over the unknown. And like, I know it's better, but I still like my pressure, self-pressure more. So I'll have to work on that. Next, I wanted to talk about staying with my brother-in-law. And that's just because, like, I felt like, I don't know, for some reason, it felt like I couldn't work. I couldn't focus on my work because this couch was originally where he slept for the last week, because they moved the bed and now he just used the couch before he moved on, before he moved away. But since he was staying and sleeping in the room where I wanted to work, and he had all his stuff here, it felt like at any moment he can just barge in, and I didn't really like the feeling of being interrupted. Same thing with my girlfriend. Like, I had to explicitly tell her, like, we had to make an arrangement where she wouldn't just come in and out at random, which we're gonna have to, like, figure out still. But that's just because I really don't like being interrupted. And I thought it's fine, but I'll have to just come clean with myself and say that I can't handle it, and I'll need a lot of training. And if possible, I'd rather actually to just know that I'm closed off in here with my personal space. And I think personal space is really important, because compared to the last flat where we lived, where we just had one room essentially for me and my girlfriend, and then it was common ground for us and the roommates, then here I feel a lot more comfortable just having my personal space, just this work room, this office, so to speak. That feels, I don't know, like, I can't describe it because it's too primal. It's just that sense of not security, but just personal space that I think everybody needs. So yeah, it's not that I minded that he was staying here or anything. It's just I can convince myself to work, even if looking back I had 3-hour uninterrupted spaces, but the thought was in my head that I was going to be interrupted, and so I didn't want to work in the first place. And that's just one of many specific things that I've really worked over the past week to remove all the obstacles between me wanting to do something and me doing something. So if I want to record, I want to have it set up to where I have to do as little as possible before I can start recording. So setting anything up, moving the PC, moving the mic. I have it outside right now, but most of the time it's directly in the closet, just prepared to go. I still have to launch a few programs, but like anything that I can do in preparation so that I don't have to do it when I want to record is something that greatly benefits me, I think. And that's really something that helped me just pretty much everywhere. Removing all the administrative work, you could say, or the busy work. Because otherwise I just don't want to do it. Like, I'll say, oh yeah, I could record, but I have to do all of this stuff and that stuff, and it's just not worth it. I don't want to do that. So now I just say, okay, I just press and I can record. I think it's going to cost me more in terms of electricity, having the PC running so often, but hey, that's a risk I'm willing to take if it makes me record more. So next one is cleaning up, organizing pedantics. I think I've essentially covered that in the previous points, but it's just reiterating the fact that everything is set up, everything is where I want it. I know where most of the stuff is, and I know most of the places in this room and what I can find there and in the flat, essentially. So it was really like a rat being put in a new cage and going through all the little corners first. That was me in the last few days. So the last thing before I get on to the work part is that we were traveling back from town because we went to a concert at the last minute, and as we were going back, we met two, the best word I have is hooligans. Like, they were really, I think they were both high and drunk. One of them mentioned it, that he had both alcohol and weed, and it still didn't help him. And it didn't help him with his what seemed like a broken hand, because he had it tied up and he was complaining about it hurting. But they were really aggressive, really loud, really uncompromising. Like, they didn't give a shit that they were in a public tram and they were shouting at each other, even though they were 2 meters away. One of them was sitting like 90 degrees off and had his hand like this, and it was almost touching my girlfriend, who was sitting right next to him. She felt really uncomfortable, and I did as well. But then they started talking, and they said that they got in a fight the night before, and they were going to get in a fight again. And they said that they're going to they wanted to beat up gypsies, essentially. And from the sound of it, I didn't think that it was like a nickname. I want to punch the gypsy. I think they meant I want to punch a gypsy, like any gypsy. And that made me feel like real uncomfortable, because like All right, just potentially. Let's say you are a Roma, a gypsy. Like, you just get on a tram, and they just pull you out. Like, they were talking about how they pulled him out of the tram and beat him up in front of his girlfriend or something, but they didn't want to do it this time because of women and children or something. Like, it was real uncomfortable, and we had to travel with them for 15 minutes. It got like into deep shit, what they talked about. So I didn't want to call the cops. And let's say they just, like, something happened. Like, what do? Do we kick them off? They were rude. They were, like, loud. They were threatening people, essentially, like, indirectly, but all the people felt uncomfortable. So, like, I got into a bit of a thought after they left, which is like, what do you do? Like, do you call the cops? Do you call the cops on them? Do you do it anonymously? They haven't beaten anyone up yet, but they were talking about it. But they would need you to provide evidence, like, at least like, be a witness and testify that they did it. And in that case, they'll see you, right? So they'll know who you are. And let's say they go to prison for 2 years. These people don't really have plans. Like, they didn't have plans. They were like, okay, tomorrow let's go to work for the full 8 hours, just so I can show them that I can work, and we can use that money and get beer in the evening or something. So it was like real fucking strange. And I had my girlfriend with me. Let's say I didn't. Still, they would come out after 2 years of prison even, and they would, what? Would they go after me? Like, they might. There are people who don't think about anything in prison apart from those people who got them locked in. Like, do you stand up against it? And if you're not alone, like, how do you make sure that you're not alone? Will the other people do it? Like, I don't think many people would have the guts if I pointed at them and asked them their name and they said Thomas, and I said, okay, Thomas, you're gonna help me kick these fuckers out. I still don't think that they would stand up. Like, Thomas wouldn't stand up 99%. So what then? Like, you can't make sure that they go away. You can't anonymously, like, you don't even want a system where you can anonymously say that, oh, they were talking about something, so lock them up. But these were clearly not very productive members of society. Like, I had 20 minutes of their conversation to listen to, and I saw blood on one sweater, and another had his hand just probably broken. And they were talking about how much it hurt, how he tried weed and alcohol, and how he wanted to punch gypsies, and, like, it was crazy. But what do you do in that place? So I don't know. Like, on the one hand, you can just ignore it and not risk. Like, let's say they remembered my girlfriend and they did something to her. Is it worth it for me to get them locked up just so something happens to us, like a random 2 years later? Or do I just stay vigilant from now on and always expect them? Like, they were literally talking about how the gypsies didn't expect to meet them and how it was just like funny coincidence that they met him in a tram so they could pull him out and fuck him up. And, like, I don't want to be vigilant every time I get on a tram just so I can meet these two or their friends who I won't even recognize, and they can just punch me from behind. Like, what do you do? Or let's say they're pretty much a lot better at fighting, right? Let's say the best comparison I can give. Let's say a gypsy gets on and they attack him. Who helps? I want to help, but I don't want to help for the sake of us being attacked later. I don't know if these people are capable of it. And, like, shit like that went on for half an hour in my head, and I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. Because the more I invest in relationships with my girlfriend and my family and, like, the few close-knit people that I really love and want to keep, the more I see the other side of, you know, I wanted to do what's right. And a few years ago, I would definitely, like, fucking punch him. I don't know, pull out a knife. I don't care. But, like, now, if they wanted to fight. So just to scare them off. I'm not going to just out of nowhere stab them in the neck. Though I did think about that. And that made me realize how dark I can get. But, like, the more I have people to protect, the more I see how it's tough to stand up and do the right thing. Because sometimes it was about you, but nowadays it's more and more about, them hurting the ones around you. Because that's, like, we figured out that that's pretty much the best way to hurt someone, to hurt the ones around them. We got that nailed down by now. So, yeah, that was quite a dilemma. And I'm going to be thinking about that for quite a few nights probably, because had they punched the gypsy in the tram and pulled him out, I genuinely don't know if I would be able to help him. I don't know. Right. So the last thing is actually work. So the past 2 days, I actually did do some work. And of all the gigs that I made on Fiverr, a Slovak one, a British one, an American one, a cartoon one, and a Russian one, the Russian one already got 2 orders. Like, one I got this morning and one I got yesterday. Yeah, or 2 or 3 days ago. So both were quite fun, and they wanted the Russian accent. But what I realize now is I'll have to work a lot more on my demo. So I now have proof that the audio is good enough through a review of the client. So I'll have to record a ton of stuff and just select the ones that sound good. But it seems that I'm not going to get through with American or British accents. I should try doing my quirky me. So, yeah. I'm probably going to play you both of the gigs, or at least excerpts from them, just so you can see what I've actually done.
Why can't I eat you? A spirit? Well, that's no good for my belly. Oh, I'm so hungry. Food is getting harder to find these days. This place used to be a good hunting ground for me. This place? Well, this is my home.
We are already quite experienced at pitting class activists against race activists, a Soviet strategy dating back to the 1968 Democratic National Convention.
And the recordings themselves, like, it's a 1-minute recording. I did it like 10 times before I was happy, so it took 10 minutes. I got $5 for it. Let's say I do that 10 times, right? So that's 10 times a day on average. So that's $50 a day. That's 20. That's $1,000. That's pretty good. And that's just from Fiverr, like none of the larger stuff that should happen over time. So even just focusing on that, if that starts going well, I think could work. But it requires a lot of gigs, of orders. So right now it's for the 3rd time about me redesigning the portfolio and like recording everything anew and making sure that, it's good. But yeah, so that's all I got to say. It's not much work still. So I'm trying to figure out which sites to attend. I'm thinking about getting like acting lessons and stuff like that. I think that's it. I think the video is long enough anyway. So that's all I have written down. And I'm going to keep you updated on how it goes. We want to do a party, like an opening party, let's say, and invite a few friends. Also, we're going to, what are we doing? I think we're setting up my girlfriend's Facebook shop for the pictures, stuff like that. She's finishing up a wig, so that's nice. And that's about it. Pretty normal. The week was really hard, but I'm happy that it happened. And I was quite happy about the whole thing, because I don't know, at this point, this part of moving I really enjoyed, where I could pick everything up, clean it up, and place it at a designated place, like make sure it looks nice. So order, I like that. Yeah, so that's it for this time. Thanks for sticking by. If you really listened to the whole thing, like, leave me a comment saying, I don't know, you're insane. Like, you're insane. If you type that, I'm perfectly fine. And no, I'm just kidding. You can say whatever you want. So thanks for listening to this whole thing. And hopefully I can show you a few more samples of my work next time. So have a great day and a great week. See you next time.